Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the MOAA Public Affairs and Communication Professional Virtual Chapter Virtual Meeting, 15 January 2026. We are honored to have Captain Jim Carman, United States Navy retired, who is MOAA's Vice President for Council and Chapter and Member Support. Captain Jim Carman, welcome this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Link. Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to say Happy New Year to all of you at your first meeting of 2026. And I look forward to sharing a couple of highlights of our work at headquarters and to take your questions. But right up front, so I don't forget, I want to publicly express my gratitude to this chapter for the Public Affairs Guide, which I know you have been working on, and for the assistance that you have offered to a number of our other chapters who are trying to raise the bar for their communications and member engagement program. So we appreciate all that you're doing in that regard. Thinking about what I might want to share with you tonight, I know that most of us have been longtime members of the association, but there are a couple of details of this association's best work that may not be top of mind anymore because it's been a few years. So I thought I'd like to highlight a couple of our successes over the past 50 years, which have had such a lasting impact on the military community. And I'll mention right up front our work with TRICARE for Life. Throughout the 90s, MOAA fought for this legislation to help reduce out-of-pocket medical costs for military retirees enrolled in Medicare. And finally, in 2001, Congress passed the TRICARE for Life legislation, which is one of the greatest healthcare plans in the free world. We also spearheaded passage of the post-9/11 GI Bill with educational transferability to family members. Many of us on the call today were not the recipient of this benefit, but it was a big deal, a huge retention incentive for the post-9/11 generation. Some of you may recall that we led the charge to defeat the 1% COLA reduction that was passed in 2013, literally in the middle of the night. And to put this in perspective, this repeal saved the typical 05 retiree about $124,000 for the first 20 years of their retirement. We also championed elimination of the Social Security offset to survivor benefit plan income, boosting the survivor's annual compensation by about $9,000 per year. And more recently, we were a key player in the 50-year effort to improve SBP and repeal the widow's tax, the mandatory offset between survivor benefit plan payments and dependency indemnity compensation payments from the Veterans Administration. But I wouldn't blame you if you asked, that's all very nice, but what have you done for me lately? Well, let's start with the Top Lobbyist Award for 19 consecutive years. All of you played a key role in generating engagement with your members of Congress, within your local communities, to help this organization earn top lobbyist recognition for the 19th consecutive year. Really an unmatched record and one of which we are all very, very proud of. Continuing, just to recap our work this past April, we visited most of the 535 congressional offices as part of our Advocacy and Action campaign. And some of you will probably recall our topics: improvements in unaccompanied housing, reducing the time veterans have to wait for their compensation for toxic exposures to be addressed by the VA, supporting expansion of the work opportunity tax credit for the military spouse community, improving support for the military caregiver community, and improving access to the military healthcare system for families and retirees. And just last night, we hosted a welcome reception for the second session of the 119th Congress. Every member and staff member who attended last night received a copy of our New Year's resolutions, and the government relations team is beginning work as we speak to build support for these legislative achievements, which will be top of mind for 2026. Reflecting on our work in 2025, I think it's important to highlight that General Kelly and the government relations team completed at least 217 impactful meetings with the Pentagon, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Defense Health Agency, and key congressional leaders. 217 meetings. That's an amazing number and reflects the really incredible engagement that our government relations team is building on Capitol Hill. The GR team also met regularly with military health system contractors, specifically Humana, Military, TriWest, Health West, Express Scripts, and several smaller contractors to share feedback from our membership and from our 3 advisory councils. And most significantly, this past year, your association led the charge to champion the 14.5% pay raise for junior enlisted personnel. And as many of you will recall, some of the big enlisted associations decided to sit this one out. But our association led the charge to achieve that 14.5% pay raise for junior enlisted people, which is a huge deal for junior enlisted families who are stationed in a high-cost area like the San Diego Naval Station or maybe the Los Angeles Air Force Station. And in case you were wondering just how many people might be benefiting from this 14.5% pay raise, here's a fun fact. There are 546,475 E1s, E2s, E3s, and E4s on active duty today, and they received that 14.5% pay raise. A great win for the military community, and your association was one of the prime movers behind this good work. I should also spotlight the Total Force Plus Conference, which was held at the Gaylord National Harbor on October 29 and 30 this past year. It is our best answer to address many of the continuing challenges for our association. Specifically, the Total Force Plus Conference has the ability to build support for our legislative advocacy agenda, to build the brand amongst influential audiences in Washington and among the currently serving community, to expand membership and address many of our highest priorities. Reflecting back on the conference, I want to highlight the support of our Maryland Council. Our Maryland Council was present at the Total Force Plus event on the exhibit floor, and they recruited 28 new members into their council as a result of engagement with conference attendees. And you'll recall that we had some incredible headwinds as we completed planning for this Total Force Plus conference. Delayed confirmations of political appointees in the Pentagon and in the Department of Veterans Affairs. Challenges attracting sponsors and exhibitors to an inaugural event, complicated by the uncertainty of the government shutdown. Winston Churchill said, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And we're proud that we were able to pull this conference together with all of these headwinds. Ultimately, we registered 2,700 attendees for the conference and welcomed over 1,400 attendees through the doors for this 2-day event, the biggest event that this association has ever put on. Amongst the survey responses that we received, 97% were either very satisfied or highly satisfied with their experience at the Total Force Plus conference. What we're trying to do with the Total Force Plus series is to strengthen leader development in the all-volunteer force, improve recruiting and retention for the all-volunteer force, increase support for the military family, and improve the veteran and retiree experience. And we think we move the ball forward in each of these areas. About 47 speakers across the two-day event, and about 112 information sessions. As I look back over the conference agenda, we're in the process now of compiling lessons learned and laying the groundwork for an even bigger and more successful conference that is scheduled at the Gaylord National Harbor in suburban Maryland on February 1, 2, and 3, 2027. 2027. We shifted to a winter cycle with our annual Total Force Plus conference for several big advantages. We want to deconflict with the major military affiliated conferences that typically are scheduled in the fall, such as the Association of the U.S. Army, the Air and Space Forces Association, and the Navy League, just to name three. It also times our conference to coincide with the convening of the 120th Congress after the fall 2026 midterm elections. So we think we're in a pretty good position to build on the success of our inaugural event and move forward with our second event on February 1, 2, and 3, 2027. I know some of you are also active in geographic chapters, so I thought I would mention the changes that we implemented this past fall regarding MOAA's privacy policy. Some of you have heard me talk about this before, but basically we were hosting membership information in about 3 different databases, and we were working with 2 versions of the association privacy policy that was rather restrictive in how we could share member contact information with our council and chapter system in order to facilitate more recruiting of non-chapter affiliated national members into our chapter system. We implemented this new privacy policy in October of 2025. We allowed 30 days for members to be notified and to make their selections on what kind of information they wished to be shared with our affinity partners and with our councils and chapters. And we're now executing the sharing of member lists, non-chapter affiliated national members with local chapters. We're probably about 25% through the process of sharing these names. So if you're in a geographic chapter, you should shortly be receiving or have just received a list of non-chapter affiliated national members within your geographic area. And the final topic that I'll mention today is board service opportunities. Board service opportunities. You may know that we have 35 directors on our national board of directors. They represent a cross-section of the association by service, by geography, and by pay grade. And we replace a group of these directors every 2 years in even numbered years. So this fall, we will assess 8 new directors, 8 new national directors, and the process for nominating, self-nominating, and selecting directors is outlined in the January issue of Military Officer Magazine on pages 10 and 11. There are many people on this call this afternoon who would be excellent candidates for service on the MOAA National Board. We're looking for the range of expertise that you need to run a 21st century professional association, government relations experience, healthcare experience, public affairs, media relations, and certainly council and chapter leadership experience. So I hope that you will give service on the MOAA National Board some serious thought The application process, as I mentioned, is in the January issue of Military Officer Magazine on pages 10 and 11. And you can certainly reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns about the application process and what to expect as the selection process unfolds this year and we announce new directors at the fall 2026 annual meeting of the membership. And maybe the final comment I'll make is the stakeholder report. We just published the 2025 stakeholder report. If we were a public company, we would call this the annual report to the shareholders, but we're not, so we call it the stakeholder report. It's a 2-page summary of our proudest boasts from the year just concluded. And Link, I will send you an electronic copy of the stakeholder report as soon as we finish talking today and ask you to pass that along to your membership. So maybe here I'll pause and be happy to take any questions or any feedback that you have on our work here at the headquarters. And again, thank you for the opportunity to connect with you today and share some of our best work from the last year. Link, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thought I'd ask for this year. We heard the priorities. Is the STAR Act, from your perspective, where is it on the back burner with MOAA this year? That's one part of the question. The other part is, from your perspective, how do you think it's going to do this year?
Well, thank you for the question on the STAR Act. It's important that we identify the highest priorities in front of our members of Congress, and that those priorities reflect the concerns of a cross-section of our membership. And I don't like to say that the Richard Starr Act is on the back burner, but there's already good support for the Richard Starr Act. 381 co-sponsors in the House and 76 co-sponsors in the Senate. There's a continual drumbeat from this headquarters to remind people of the importance of extending concurrent receipt to those combat wounded who were not able to complete 20 years of service due to their combat wounds. So I wouldn't say it's on the back burner. I would say it's a continuing topic of discussion, but we do want to spotlight those 5 topics that were on the slide as our top tier concerns for 2026, along with other issues like Arlington National Cemetery eligibility, the STAR Act, and others. I hope that's helpful.
It's very helpful, Jim, and thank you very much, and appreciate the mention of the Arlington National, Mark Takano, and others who are very important to that. And with that, let's get over to the floor. The floor is everybody else's here. Please raise your hand for Captain Jim Carman, United States Navy retired. Questions? With that, Jim, it looks like we've got a pretty clean. Oh, here we go. Joe Golash, the hand is up. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very, very much, Link. And thank you, Captain Carman, for speaking with us. It's really great. I would like to thank you also and pass along and thank you for the great support that National MOAA has been to our virtual chapter system. And we'll be putting word out fairly shortly. We'll be growing our virtual chapters from the current 7 chapters. We'll be adding an 8th chapter in April. Sir, I was wondering, for advocacy and action this year, will the 5 topics that were on the resolution slide, are those going to be the topics of focus for advocacy and action in April?
Thank you for the question, Joe. That is a rapidly moving target, and based on the legislative landscape that we see today, those will be the 5 topics that we'll be asking our advocates to emphasize, to address in their meetings with selected members of Congress. There could be some changing political priorities in Congress in the coming 90 days before we execute advocacy and action that could lead to some adjustment of those priorities based on current events. But as of today, we're focused in on those 5 priorities for AIA 2026.
Thank you, sir. And if I could, one other comment for Total Force Plus, we know it was a huge success for the inaugural presentation there and conference. For 2027, would there be an opportunity for us as virtual chapters to participate a little more fully in the February 27 Total Force? Coming and from comments from a number of our virtual chapters, our members felt that we would have more to contribute with that, more than just a recruiting effort for the chapters. So I would appreciate any feedback or opportunities to discuss that further down the road.
Thank you for that. I'll give you a partial answer, not the complete answer, but the process of developing the content for the 2027 Total Force Plus conference is just getting started. And I will make sure that the team that is working on content generation is familiar with the capabilities, the expertise resident in our virtual chapters. And we'll see if there might be opportunities as the program comes together to put a presence for our virtual chapter system on the exhibit floor or in the order of show, consistent with some budget limitations that we have to abide by. So we will do our best at headquarters to keep the virtual chapters top of mind as we put together content and also exhibit opportunities. I hope that's a partial answer for today.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Joe, for the great questions, as always, and your support, not only to this chapter, but what you do for virtual chapters. We're depending on you, and we're looking forward to our partnership in 2026. It's fantastic what you do. We want to thank you for being with us, and we want to thank you for being a great mentor and your steadfast leadership with the Military Officers Association of America.
Thank you, Link, and do consider opportunities for service on our National Board of Directors. Any questions, don't hesitate to call me. And Link, I'll send you a copy of the stakeholder report for 2025 to share with your members. Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome, Jim. Thank you very much, sir.